Hello, this is Joe Navickas, and I'm going to go over to you how to save your money. And a lot of people have different thoughts on this, and I like to make it as simple as possible, and I want to make it as automatic for as many students as I possibly can. If you look at the United States savings rate right now, we're pretty low in comparison to many other countries. We know in America we like to consume and buy and have a lot of different possessions, but one thing we're really not good at is saving our money. And the reason being is that we get paid, we spend all of our money, and then we save whatever's left over. But this is not good enough. It's not good enough to sustain long-term growth. And so we need to teach our young people, middle-aged people, young adults on how to save effectively. So you can see right now we're hovering right around 4% as a savings rate right now, and this is kind of where we're at right now. And the goal, I think, to really have a healthy country is to kind of get that rate up a little further. Because as you save, you build wealth, and as you feel wealthy, you spend more money. And so the goal is to try to get people to feel wealthy and to get wealthy, and we do this by saving over a long period of time. All right, so here's savings plan 1, and this one you're cold. If you're doing this, you're cold. This is why you're around 4% probably, because this is what's happening to you. If we look at income, over time you graduate college or you start your early working career, and as you get good at what you do, your income generally then will rise over time. You have inflation. And so there's kind of what an income trend would maybe look like for an individual. Now I'm going to add in the expenses. So in the beginning, you could kind of live cheap as a single young adult, but then as you kind of start a family and that, your expenses sometimes will rise over your income for that particular year. So every line here represents a year as we kind of go down. So we're going to have some positive years where we're going to save more. We're going to have years where we spend more, save more, spend more, and we kind of hover around. And then when we get a little bit older, we're like, oh man, our kids are off or they're out of the house. I need to get serious about retirement. And we kind of save too late. And so you kind of see we go back to where we were at when we were young. So this is a cold plan. This is what most Americans kind of do. So what we want it to look like this, and this is okay. This is an okay plan. There's nothing wrong with what I'm about to show you. If Americans were kind of just to do this plan, we would be in much better shape as an economy, as a country. But you can kind of see now the difference what I did here. So once again, there's the same income line. And so now you're saving a flat percentage of your income for life. So based on what you make, you set that rate at 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, and we could have a lot of arguments about what that rate should look like. But then your expenses then will track a percentage of your income over time. And this would be a huge step up for Americans if they were to kind of stick with this and go this route. Savings plan number 3 is on fire. This is the one we definitely want to go with, and we want to start this early and often. So let me kind of show you what this one look like. So there's your income line. So what you do as you have a healthy savings rate, as your income grows, you stick at the same standard of living for a couple of years. So you live kind of in arrears. As you get a nice raise, as you get a promotion, you don't adjust your expenses right out of the gates. And so every time you get that raise, the expenses will kind of lag a little bit, changing and updating. So for example, let's say you get a $10,000 raise. I'm not going to go out and get a more expensive apartment right away. I'm going to continue living in my current apartment, in my current situation, and then make that a change in a couple years for a couple different reasons. One is you want to make sure that the raise that you get, the promotion you get, that you're good at that job. So then you're not tied to a job that you're working for, because now you raised all your bills. So kind of keep that in mind. A lot of Americans, as soon as we get the raise, we up the expenses. Secondly, as we get our raises, we're slowly increasing the percentage of money that we're saving. So maybe here we start at 10%, and then we get here a few years in, then we increase our savings to 11 and 13, 14, 15, and we kind of bump that amount, and then near the end of our career, we could save that much more aggressively, just like in the first scenario. But you got to remember, compounding interest, you need to take advantage of. You need to start early and often and stick on the path and not waver from that. That's how you generate wealth. And when you generate wealth, then you could donate that money to your favorite charities. You could get involved in giving back. You could make healthy decisions for your family. But instead, too many times we kind of end up like this plan here, where we're kind of living paycheck to paycheck. We're going through and kind of struggling. We would rather that you kind of get to this point where you're really saving the difference. And this method here will allow you to retire. If you want to retire, you could retire early. You'll have more money to donate to charitable causes. And so that's kind of things that you could kind of think about as you look at Savings Plan 3. All right, so how do you do this? How do you save? How do you achieve this? How does one say discipline? Really what you want to do is you want to pay yourself first. And you hear this all over the internet. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Well, how do you do that? Most places where you work, they have what is called a credit union. So when you get paid, you could send money directly into your credit union account, and then the rest of your money goes into your checking account. So that's one way of kind of doing that. You're saving before you get the money in your checking account. And now here's the good news about this way of savings. All the money that goes in your checking account, you can now spend all of it. You don't have to feel guilty because you paid the most important bill first, and that's your credit union account. So your credit union account, you get a slightly better savings rate, and it's for savings. It doesn't come, you don't have to go make a transaction, write a check. It automatically goes into that account. So that is the number one way to really kind of save, is through that automatic savings component. Another automatic savings component is a 401k. So once again, you're pulling money directly from your paycheck, going into an investment account. You'll never see that money. It goes into the account. So those two I am huge fans of. The credit union helps you gather your emergency savings. Your 401k is your long-term stuff. And if all Americans kind of stuck to this, I think we would be a much wealthier, happier country, because then we wouldn't overdo it on the expenditure side. And as we gain wealth, then we would be more inclined to partake in the economy and expenditures and stuff like that if we had wealth that was stored up. The next way is you could have permanent life insurance. So you send money to the life insurance company every month. You could do it every month. You could do it twice a year. You could do it once a year. And so this is a life insurance policy that actually builds the cash value over time. I think you don't really go to a whole life policy unless you're really kind of hitting your investments here heavily. If you're hitting these at a maximum amount, whatever the government lets you do, then you would consider maybe to kind of put some of your assets into a whole life insurance policy. Your overall return is not going to be as high, but it definitely grows and compounds. You have compounding interest in that type of account. The next one, Roth IRA. Now the Roth IRA, you got to send money over from an account. You have to do this yourself, so it's not really as automatic unless you save the money into the credit union here, and then you pay your Roth IRA out of the credit union account, and then it goes that way. So you can set up all of these to be automatic by just zapping the money out of your paycheck directly in the credit union, and then the credit union is going to fund the life insurance policy. It's going to fund the Roth IRA. And then the last one, potentially some type of brokerage account. So in your brokerage account, it would be outside. The only thing I'd be careful with the brokerage account is the average investor, our returns are bad. We make bad decisions. We sell our investments when we shouldn't. We buy investments when we shouldn't. We're just all around bad investors. We try to time, and we're just, nobody could time these markets. So if you're overall here in the market here, and you have some diversification in life insurance, and you maybe have a real estate holding or whatever, you're acquiring different types of assets, which is important. You don't want to put all your money in one type of asset class. No excuses. Don't make any excuses. I need money for this. I need money for that. You have to say discipline. So the best way to say discipline is to make it automatic. Save first. All my young adults that I taught, they've listened to this, and they're doing this in their early 20s. I even see some living at home so they could get ahead of the game the first couple of years of employment. This is brilliant. Some move out right away, but as long as they set up good financial habits early and often, they're going to have no excuses. So make sure that you do that. If you like this video and other videos like this, subscribe to me on YouTube, Joe Navickas. Follow me on Twitter at Joe Navickas, and my teaching website is deerfieldbusinesseducation.com. Thanks for listening.